Self-Publishing Podcast, episode number 158.
This episode of the Self-Publishing Podcast is brought to you by 99 Designs, the online marketplace that helps you get outstanding book cover designs at an affordable price. Start your custom design today at 99designs.com/SPP and enjoy a free Power Pack upgrade valued at $99.
Welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast, where if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. And now, here are your hosts, three guys who took the red pill and the blue pill, Johnny, Sean, and Dave.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast, the podcast that follows three full-time authors as we attempt to change the face of indie publishing. Join us and our trailblazing guests as we shove aside boundaries, freely experiment, and occasionally screw up. I'm Johnny B. Truant, and my co-hosts are Sean Platt and David Wright. Speaking of trailblazing guests, it's like Guest Fest 2015 lately.
Yeah.
'Cause we're trying to. Sean is doing this thing that I've heard of. It's called a vacation.
What?
Not sure what that is, but it's and Cindy is needs a few Fridays, so we're booking like 16 shows ahead. Not literally. But a lot of those have been guest shows. So do you want a quick recap? Well, here, let me tell you about today's guest, who will be Julia Kent, and she does really, really well on Apple. So basically...
Oh, we started already. Johnny's crap internet. This is fantastic. Yeah, Johnny, hurry up and move to Austin. We got 300 MPS down here.
This is the most professional show.
Yeah, well, so are we vamping? See, I never know if the audio is still going on.
The YouTube is going on. The audio for the podcast is not going on.
No, it's actually going on. If you can hear me now. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Oh,
We're in
great.
the middle of introducing when you completely took a
Yeah, okay. So, and audio does, just to answer your question, audio records fine on my end, but you guys get totally confused because I have the recorder here, so it's flawless for me. Nobody on the audio feed has ever noticed my internet difficulties except...
Yeah, but when you drop out, our audio is not being recorded, is what I'm saying.
Oh, no, I'm saying that you should just chill out, Dave, and relax. It's fine. No, of course. Yeah, no, I know it's a problem. I'm just saying that, FYI, it is okay on the audio.
F you too.
Yeah, really.
So, Julia Kent.
Oh. Is he frozen again? Holy shit.
Oh, this is good stuff. Yeah, so does Johnny need a new computer? Is it the internet or the computer?
I don't even know what to say.
Well,
Sean, go into Asana and tell people about the guests while I fix this.
All right, I could do that. Hold on.
Okay, I think what's happening, for those of you that can't hear Johnny, I think he's yelling at his family to turn off the damn Netflix. Because apparently they get like 2 megabytes per hour over at that house.
2 megs per hour. Awesome.
Johnny lives in a third world nation known as, what, Ohio?
I'm afraid to talk now. Am I okay at all? Should I continue? Should I just leave?
You
No,
can
now
do
you
the
sound-
introduction now.
You
Now
sound
we
great
can-
now.
Now that your family turned off Netflix.
All right, so I'll try again. Our guest is going to be Julia Kent, who is a best-selling romance author, and Apple, our Apple reps. Apple doesn't do public things like podcasts and stuff, so she's sort of speaking on their behalf as to how to succeed on Apple, which is something that we've.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, this is pretty bad. All right, folks, I'm going to go to our upcoming guests. We've got Julia Kent today, and that will air the 20th. We've got Julia Koblenz from Barnes & Noble. We've got Dan Wood from Draft to Digital. We've got J.A. Huss, who she writes, I guess, erotic romance. I read her 321, and so did Johnny, and it's super, super good. We're going to do a show on autoresponders. We have Justin Sloan coming up, and Hal Elrond, who wrote the book The Miracle Morning, which is basically the opposite of Dave's life. So, yeah.
Can we get somebody from Google on? Or maybe Johnny's
no.
internet provider.
I would actually love that. We could just have someone on Google and yell at them for like 20 minutes.
No, I don't think it's Google. I think it's his internet provider.
Oh, well, I would like to have someone from Time Warner to yell at. That would make me super happy because
I'm sure they'd be happy to come on our show.
they are the enemy. I will agree to sign up to any of their bloated, overpriced packages if they'll give me. We should call them on BOU. Just call the customer service line.
It would depend what state you're in, whether or not that would be legal.
I'll move to make that shit legal. Maybe we could do it. I bet.
All right, I'm gonna turn off my camera, and maybe that will help.
Oh, there we go.
You guys can just look at the unicorn, and hopefully my voice won't violate the space-time continuum.
Hey,
I've been getting Slack messages all day where it says disconnecting, restarted my computer.
That sucks.
Yeah, so this will be a fun show. So just be prepared to just pick up, because if we keep laughing and saying Johnny's frozen, then just whatever, it's going to be terrible. So,
all right.
I assume you ran through the guest roster, but we
did.
can just continue.
Yeah, I did. So do you guys want to do questions? You want to talk about cool stuff? Hey, why don't we talk about the coolest thing that happened to Sterling and Stone this week with our new member of the family?
Yes.
Ahead.
Do that.
I had a baby.
We did have a baby.
I'm totally afraid to talk. It's funny. Go ahead.
We have a bouncing baby admin, Maya Good. You guys probably know her from her username Quotidian Light. She is vibrant and funny and smart and seems super hardworking. So we're really excited that she is now part of the family. And I think the big takeaway there is Dave has to like you because
I already like her. What are you talking about?
That's what we're saying. That's why we hired her.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, it's not.
I like all the people that applied that I knew.
Yes, but we, Quotidian, or I guess Maya's, she chirps in the comments often, and Dave's always another one from Quotidian Light. Like you can just see it.
So you hired her for me. Oh, thank you.
Well, no, but it does make it easy.
Yeah.
She said all the right things.
Exact right handler to work with. Is that it?
She said all the right things. She talked about being detail-oriented and obsessing over details. When Sean was talking about having to deal with some of the eccentricities of Rainmaker, she said, was there a manual that I can dig into and read all the pages?
She did. Yeah, so she was saying things before we were even finished saying them. So I think that's great, and everybody on the team too, was excited that we were even talking to her. So immediate family, that's good stuff. We're very excited about that. Dave, do you have anything either cool or rage infested?
Infested.
Fueled.
Rage infested.
I am reading a book. I'm not prepared to give a report on it yet, but I'm further ahead than I am in pretty much any other book I read this year.
So you got past the wedding scene.
Yes, I am almost actually at chapter 10, I think. The book is called The Girl with All the Gifts. It's an awesome book, and I'll talk more about it when I'm done. But to say anything about it would be to spoil it. The best thing I like about it is that it is very mysterious, and at first you don't know what's happening, but you start to catch on, and then you're like, oh yeah, this hasn't been done before.
Yeah. Well, and I also noticed that it was about a child in jeopardy, which totally makes sense.
You had me at child in jeopardy.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to read this. Because Dave's reading it, and I think it'd be fun to read the same thing at the same time. I put it at the top of my queue, and it's pretty funny because Haley, have you heard the book, The Selection, that series of books?
Only from you.
She describes it as the Hunger Games at prom, which sounds kind of awesome. And she's really into the series, and the fourth book in the series just came out, I guess, day before yesterday, Tuesday, and she really wants to read it, and she asked if I would read all the books so that we could be in time, and I said yes, I want to do that.
3 books like this week, please? Thanks, Daddy.
Well, yeah, kinda. And I said I would actually like to do that. That'd be really awesome. But I have to read this book for Dave first because he's never reading a book that I want to read at the same time, and you always are reading books. So yeah, Dave jumped to the top of my queue.
So did you start yet?
No, because I'm
You'll
just
still
finishing.
finish ahead of me, I'm sure.
Oh, I know. I'm not worried about that at all. But I wanted to finish what I was starting to read, and I'm on the last book of a series that I think you will really like, actually. The Pines by Blake Crouch.
Yeah,
seen
I
that.
had the first one. I started it, and I liked it. But then I started this, and I said, "Oh, I like this more." So.
Yeah, it's very there's some very inkwell stuff in here,
Mhm.
and I can't get into it without spoiling it.
It's
But
a TV show now too.
yeah, but you would dig it. You would dig
Yeah,
it a
I'm sure
lot.
I will. I was
Yeah.
just in a different mindset, so I wanted to read, Child in Jeopardy rather than Man Lost in a Bizarre Town.
Yeah, no, but it doesn't go in the places I expected it to go. It's a very, I mean, I first saw it pop up when Yesterday's Gone was new. Was when I first started seeing the cover. This is actually a good little discussion on the job that covers do. I don't think the cover in any way communicated what the story is.
I
Um,
like the cover.
that's fine, but it doesn't promise what this story is at all. It had a
I don't think
guy.
it has to.
It was blue, and a bunch of tall pine trees,
It
which
did its job.
which goes with the
It
name.
sold a lot of books.
Well, it didn't sell me on the premise at all. I didn't know what the premise was. Like I thought, okay, it looks cool. It reminded me a little bit of like an X-Files thing, maybe. I don't know, but I
Well, it's
started
no unicorn western.
no. So I started reading it, a few days ago, and I really, really liked it. And then I tore through it, and I tore through the second one, and now I'm just finishing the last one, and it's awesome. I think it's a cool story. It's really good. So anyhow, um, but that's not my cool thing. Do we have time for something
But you
cool?
sure did use a lot of your time for something that's not even your cool thing.
Well, I was piggybacking off of your cool thing.
Go
Johnny,
ahead.
Isn't that interesting how he does that to get extra minutes for cool things?
Johnny, are you confident enough to do a cool thing there with your from the unicorn voice?
There's nothing cool right now. That's the
Everything
problem.
sucks.
No, I have nothing cool. I have the opposite of cool. I've spent many, many hours doing very simple tasks because everything takes 50 steps that you aren't anticipating, like doing
Everything
new
is awesome.
compiles for something that was not on all platforms and creating new back matter and then creating landing pages for the back matter. It's just nothing is cool right now.
Yeah.
Actually, there are cool things, but they're
No,
not
you're
things
sounding
that I
more
want to
like
go
Dave
into.
all the time.
Yeah. No, it's the internet thing is really pissing me off.
Yeah, that's
And there's
terrible.
nothing that I can do.
And it's breaking our usual repertoire because we can't see Johnny.
Yeah,
Well,
all we
and
see
I'm
is the
I
vibrating unicorn.
believe me.
There he goes. He's gone.
Oh wow, you froze on audio now. All right, well, all right. So here's my cool thing. Um, I've been reading screenplays a lot lately, just because I want to write one. And I actually have something else cool.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, I started writing some of Yesterday's Gone with Dave, starting, and it's been
That
really,
asshole.
really awesome. No, it's been awesome. But my next writing project was going to be the first screenplay, and I put that off just a little bit to start on Yesterday's Gone, which I'm really excited about. But I've been reading a lot of screenplays just to kind of prepare. And my something cool is noticing how different they all are. I'm a little bit ignorant to actual. I've never read a lot of screenplays. Like I understand the form, and I certainly love film, but I've never, sat down and dug into a pile of scripts. And reading them now, I'm seeing what an art form they really are, and seeing how it's capable. It's possible for the screenwriter to really put a lot of their voice into the screenplay. And so you'll read different scripts by different people, and they really have a different vibe. And so the last two that I read back to back, they could have been more different. One was Hitchcock's Rear Window, which is like all stage direction. Most scripts are like 120 pages, almost exactly, give or take. And Rear Window was like 170, and really, really dense. Like because you're seeing what's in every single window, you're seeing everything that he sees, and it's just very light on dialogue and just very heavy on behind the camera. And Then the one I read right after that was Lethal Weapon, which was fantastic. Like, I laughed out loud a bunch of times. And the screenwriter for that, Shane Black, apparently he got $250,000 for Lethal Weapon, which was his first screenplay. And I can see why. Like, it's a really, really good script. Now, I haven't seen Lethal Weapon since I was like 10. It's been a long time. But even so, I could still clearly see it in my head. And the personality in the screenplay was fantastic. So, for example, most of the screenwriting, the writer kind of keeps themselves distant. They don't become a part of the script. Now, this is the kind of thing Dave would not enjoy at all in a screenplay, right? Because the author should stay out, and I understand that. I imagine that Tarantino scripts, I have yet to read one of those, but I'm sure it's the same, where he's very much a part of the script. But in the Lethal Weapon script, Shane Black is describing them driving up to this Beverly Hills mansion, and he's describing it, and he's like, it's a fat pad with like chrome and glass. It's exactly the kind of place I'll buy when I sell this screenplay, and it looks like an awesome place to have sex. Like, and this is how he's describing the house, and it sounds kind of juvenile, and it is, but I also knew exactly what the house looked like. And so even though he's inserting himself into it, he did it in the right ways and in the right places, and it made me feel really confident, because I don't really want to write a total dry screenplay. And there were things that he did in the screenplay that reminded me of how I write beats for Johnny, for example, and made me even more eager to write the screenplay, because I can put a little bit of personality into it, especially if these are screenplays that will eventually make in-house. Then that part of the personality is part of it. So anyway, that's my something cool.
Well, that's it for the show, folks. See you next week.
Well, I can play one of these voicemails if it will work. We'll see if it will work.
Fingers crossed.
If not, we'll make up a question.
All right. So, I'm wondering if we played this one before, because it's a two-parter, but I don't think so. So let me go ahead.
Hey guys, David Ulner-Slew here. Two questions actually. The first one, I've got a 3-word title. First word is 6, and then I've used Thane and Queen. Thane being a warrior, but spelled in the Old English style of Thegn, and Queen being an unmarried, floozy type woman, but spelled Quean. It's in my created world, so I've made Thanes more like barbarians, and Queen being an unmarried female warrior, shield maiden type. My question is using 2 words that are not in the vernacular, even though my title is somewhat alliterative, is this whole...
All right, well, that
was a fucking
two words in my title. Or is it possible
You're trying to interrupt a recording,
they're
kid.
interesting words.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so
You cut out. I couldn't hear it.
yeah,
Oh.
no, but I think I got the gist.
Dickhead.
I think I got the gist of that.
I was actually referring to Sean being a dickhead. If you were interrupting me, then I missed that part.
Why was I being a dickhead?
We were both talking. All right.
Yeah, because he cut out.
I don't know what the end of the question was.
Okay, I think I got the question. It was basically he's made up a couple of words. Is that okay to use in a? No, I think he was asking if it's okay to use that in the title of his book. Does that sound right to you, Johnny?
Can I get a yes? Yes.
All right, awesome. Okay, so yeah, I would suggest against that. Maybe if you're a best-selling author already, that's the kind of thing that you can get away with easier. But if you're, and again, we come from the angle that we usually do what we want to do, regardless of how successful it's going to be. So, I could see us doing something like that, but it's not the right thing to do.
I think it might work better in fantasy than other genres, and it sounds like a fantasy book. So I would say go for it.
Well, maybe.
You can try it both ways.
But
It's going to be hard to search for. There is that.
Right. It's clarity.
And hard to remember.
Well, who's searching for that exact title?
Well, they're not, but you want to tell friends about it. You want to, or you search later, but you can't.
Here's
quite
a comparison. I came across this eccentric but.
I think Johnny said he came across an eccentric book, and then he couldn't remember it later. The end.
Wow. I'm glad you guys think this is funny because it's really not funny to me.
No, it's horrifying. Can't imagine why Apple wouldn't come on our show.
Maybe we should hop on Skype. Or will that not solve the problem because it's internet, not Google?
No, it's internet. Won't solve it.
Mm.
There's nothing we can do unless Dave wants to unpack all of his podcasting equipment and host the show right now. And you know that shit's buried under NutriBullets. Hey, Dave, you got any cover stories recently? I don't know what to do about my cover because my internet is so terrible.
Is that a cue for a spontaneous ad read?
I'm just very frustrated with my internet, and I think getting a good cover would help me feel better.
If only the folks at 99 Designs did internet service, I guarantee that you would be happy with it.
Oh, man. Okay,
Yes.
well, tell me about it.
99 Designs. That's okay. If you...
I love that they signed a contract with us with a straight face.
Okay, you've all heard us talk about 99 Designs before, so it's nothing new. Y'all know, but we're gonna do it again, okay? Because I don't think you know enough. And 99 Designs, this is the best ever without Johnny. Come on, this is horrible. Okay.
Tell me more, Dave. We are finishing up a contest right now. Maybe we should talk about that.
Yes, we are doing a contest for Realm and Sands logo, and you know I'm not going to do the logo because God knows it would turn out horrible. So where do we go? We go to the pros. We go to 99 Designs. We're doing a contest with them. We put out our design brief, what we want it to be. Got tons, literally tons of entries in the past day or two. And now we're in the final stages of it, trying to figure out who we want to take to the next round. And you know we have more great choices than we can even choose from. And that's the experience you're going to have if you use 99 Designs for your logo, for your book cover, website stuff. They got designers there waiting to do everything for you. And we use them for several of our book covers. Have never had a bad experience. It's just been great every time. Easy to use. And you can get your fans involved. You can run a poll on your website and say, hey, what cover do you like the most? Gets people excited about the book. It lets them know about it. So, yes, definitely. 99 Designs is the way to go.
That's a ringing endorsement when Dave can say about you.
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to finish this ad read because Johnny's just cutting out. Okay. Start your custom design today at 99designs.com/SPP and enjoy a free Power Pack upgrade value $99. Power Pack upgrade makes your design contest stand out from the crowd. 99 Designs will bold your listing, highlight it with a prominent background, and feature it before regular listings. This on average results in 185% more designs. So visit 99designs.com/SPP today and get started on a great design. Better than this ad read or this show today.
All right. Well, to be fair, that isn't our fault. It's my internet. So.
Your internet sucks.
And yeah, and
Should be
there's
charged with a
nothing
hate
nothing I can do about it. So I'm going to invite Julia, and you guys will need to talk to her while I vanish or something.
This should go very well.
Oh, this is so exciting.
Yes. Fortunately, she seems very friendly on email, so we'll see.
And Dave's a great interviewer. So
Yes. I'm the best ever.
Dave, I can't see you. Did you?
What?
Yeah, all I see is your avatar.
I see me. I see me just fine. I'll cut my...
All right. Let's talk less about tech difficulties.
Hello?
I
I
was
can't
just
hear a
gonna say-
damn thing. Okay.
I feel like we're waiting for like the monster to find us or something.
This is horrible. Wow.
Well,
We
at
should
least
put
we
more
got-
guests.
At least we got our worst show over with.
Okay, well, yeah, Sean, how's that yesterday's going?
It's awesome. I wrote some today.
Great. I wrote some too, and I'm taking it in a direction that's gonna surprise you
Oh, it always does. Are you
and
gonna murder
surprise
me,
readers.
Hoffman?
No, I'm going way off weird. You're gonna be like, what the hell?
That's all right. I like what the hell. Are we? I seriously cannot see you, and now I can't see me or Johnny. I really am like in a dark room waiting for the boogeyman right now.
This is the best.
Oh, here we go.
Hello, Julia.
Hello. Hi, guys.
Hi, Julia.
I
Hello.
don't
Hi,
know if you've been
Julia.
watching, but we've been having some tech issues, so I apologize in advance.
Okay. Duly
I will.
noted.
I will probably talk less than normal because the guys keep telling me I'm glitching out. So I apologize for that.
You sound great right now. So
Okay,
it's
that's where
wonderful
one
to
of
meet
you guys
Julia.
takes the lead.
Yeah, wonderful to meet you, Julia.
Good to meet you.
So Julia's here because she's had a lot of success on Apple, and Apple is it's a hard place for indies because it's harder to get traction there, and Amazon is attractive because they've got that abusive boyfriend thing going on with Select, and come back to us, come back
We'll
to
give
us.
you everything.
Yeah, and so we listen to his promises, and we believe him, and we stay exclusive, and then but we made a decision with Invasion this year to go wide, and we're really happy with that decision, and things have been going really well with Apple, but Apple doesn't do actual appearances like on this podcast, and so
Can't imagine why after this.
probably because they know about our tech issues. But they were kind enough to get us in touch with Julia, who has had a lot of success in Apple. So she's kind of here to talk about what does and does not work on Apple, because I think any indie who is smart is at some point thinking about going wide. And if you're thinking about going wide, Apple's a good place to go. And for my money, I do believe in Apple, and I think that they're a place that everyone's going to want to be at some point. So welcome, Julia.
Thank you. Yeah. Speaking of going wide, a couple weeks ago at the New England RWA conference, fellow author Suzanne Brock and I did a workshop on going wide and expanding your horizons beyond Select. And it was interesting just how full the session was. We had about 40 or 50 authors there, and attendance at the conference was around 150, so we were really surprised and pleased. But I had the opportunity to sort of talk about a lot of the iBooks issues and Apple issues that when you've been focused on Amazon and haven't been thinking so much about the wider issues, are really kind of the fundamental basics. And so I can talk about whatever you guys want.
Were you wide from the beginning, Julia, or did you eventually go wide after a stint in Select?
That's a good question. I started out with my first 3 novellas in Select back in November of 2012, December of 2012, and then as soon as the 3-month period was up, I went wide. So I've been distributed, for instance, on iBooks. Back when I started, I went with Smashwords and then migrated over to Draft to Digital later, and then now I'm sort of a mix of Draft to Digital and going direct on iBooks. But once I came out of Select with those first 3 novellas, I immediately went with pretty much wherever Smashwords distributed at the time. I went direct on Barnes & Noble. I went direct when Kobo Writing Life opened up. Pretty much the minute something was direct, I was there to the extent that I could be.
So do you think that a lot of your success going wide is because you did it ahead of the curve, you did it early? And what prompted you to do that? Did you just believe that Select was, short-term gain, long-term loss?
Well, that's a good question. I still have a few of my books in Select, so I tend to experiment. That's kind of my approach to everything. I try something, and if it works, I do more of it, and if it fails, I tuck my tail between my legs and go and figure something new out. But I'm not so sure. I don't think that being on iBooks or any of the retailers earlier than anyone, or earlier than others, necessarily contributed to doing well. I think it's as much about building a large mailing list, about being on as many retailers as possible so that you get more global reach. And then when you get global reach, you tend to, the word of mouth in other countries can take off. And so I think that especially building a strong newsletter, really made a difference in the beginning.
How long did it take you to get traction on non-Amazon platforms?
Depends on the platform. On iBooks, it took me a good year, and it was really a little over a year ago that I started to see really strong improvement over there. And with Kobo, it took a while. Google Play, I very recently have seen some lovely traction and growth there. I realize I'm supposed to be talking about iBooks, but I tend to be, like through Draft to Digital, I've been involved in some beta programs, was able to get on Tolino, which is not a very big market right now, but with translations coming up in the pipeline for me, I'm hoping that that'll be bigger. So it depends on the retailer, frankly. Most of them take, for me, at least 6 months to start to say, okay, the growth is big enough that it's time to start investing in advertising or Facebook ads or things like that. But it's really retailer dependent. It also depends on how aggressive the retailers are with growth. So some of them have done outreach directly to me when they see that my sales are strong on another vendor. Some of them independently just work on expanding their reach. So it sort of depends on what their target goals are too.
I think that's a really important point. Every time I talk now, I'm worried about glitching out, so we'll see. But what you just said about a year, I've heard that before. It's interesting that you said a year. And so anybody who and isn't noticing traction, that's two big selling people that I've heard say a year. And it took us
yeah, I think he glitched out.
Glitched out.
Yeah, but Julia, so in that year, is that something that you were constantly kind of tweaking and nurturing, or is it just a year was time on market?
That's a good question. I think some of it is romance specific, because in some cases it involved finishing a trilogy or finishing a novella series, and there are a lot of romance readers who are open about the fact that they won't touch the first few books in a series until the series is done, and then they'll go and they'll buy the whole thing. So marketing to romance readers was definitely part of that. So once a trilogy was done, then I would start to see a massive boost once I marketed book one on a particular retailer. One of the things that was most successful for me on iBooks was a first in a series free, and especially when I had a particular trilogy done, what I call my obedient series. I have a series, maliciously obedient, suspiciously obedient, and deliciously obedient. And when the first book was set to free last spring, I saw an extraordinary response, and that was about a year on iBooks at that point. But I think that I wouldn't have seen that kind of explosion in sales if the trilogy hadn't been done and if I hadn't put the first book free. And I'm seeing that first in a series free works on a lot of the retailers. It's not iBooks specific, but in that particular case, I think having enough of a backlist and then having a complete trilogy and going first in a series free made a huge difference.
Why do you think trilogies, people won't touch them until they're done? Is it that they fear the author won't follow through, or they just don't want to wait a long time?
I think some of it, now, to be fair, I have to qualify this by saying that these are romance readers I've talked to who say this. But some of it is that for romance, they want to know that the happily ever after is there, that they can speed read through all of the books in the series and know that, if you finish one at 11 o'clock at night, you can just buy the next one and keep going until you get to the end. I think some of it is trust. Some of it is, well, if there are 2 books out in a 3-book series and book 3 never appears, then you've just invested yourself in a world that you're never going to know what happened. So I think that that's part of it. And then that's not to say that you can't do well with an active series that isn't complete. It's just that in my case, that seems to be the trend, that once a series is complete, or at least has 3 or 4 books in it, then active promoting of the first book can really see results.
No, I think that makes sense, and I don't even think that's exclusive to romance. I mean, I'm really excited about us finishing our longest running series now because we have book 6. It's done, and that's like a full thing that we can promote instead of an open box to promote. Makes sense.
Now, as far as a series versus a trilogy, if it is an ongoing series, is there a specific way you can handle that to get those readers that might not otherwise read it to trust that you're doing well? Would it involve more self-contained stories, or what tips do you have there?
Well, the longest series I have just hit 6 books plus a short story, and that's my random series. The first is Random Acts of Crazy, which is free on Apple, and it's free everywhere. Or everywhere that I can get onto. And that one, I really think that marketing the first book or the first 2 books is the key, because marketing heavily with book 5, you can do it and you can get some traction, but unless they're relative standalones, unless they're written in a way that you can just kind of step in and then go back and read to catch up, really focusing on books 1 and 2 are important. So it's not so much the trilogy aspect or the closed aspect. I think readers want to see that you as the author are invested in the world. And by the time you get to book 5, you pretty much are. I have found I've done some short stories across. I've done them for 3 out of the 4 series that I write. In boxed sets that I do, multi-author box sets. There's a particular series called the LOL series. There are now 3 of those box sets, and I'm in there with Mimi Strong and Daisy Prescott, and we've had J.J. Knight. We've had a bunch of different people who write romantic comedy, and those short stories have helped to hook new readers or to cross-promote and get some of their readers to try me and get my readers to try them. And to be fair, the data is not clear whether those actually get people invested in a long-running series in a way that's any better than a paid ad or pushing book 1 in your series. So the jury's kind of out on that.
We hear a lot about first book free being great for Apple. Did you just was it merchandised free, like you made something free and then Apple featured it, or was it just being free helped?
I have a couple of examples that are varying for that. So the first time I put a book free that really took off on Apple was last spring, and it was in my Obedient series. And so I set it free. It reached, I want to say, number 2 in the free section, the free list there, brought up sales of books 2 and 3, which were $3.99 on Apple, and it rose to the top 20 before I had a scheduled BookBub. So the BookBub shoved it way up, and that was sweet. I had some days there that were unbelievable, and I treasured that. And so in that case, it was definitely, it picked up traction on its own, but then the BookBub just totally blew it out of the water. I also recently, I have to think, it was February, I developed a relationship with an Apple iBooks rep by stalking them at a Novelist Incorporated conference, and was able to sit down and chat with someone, and from that discussion was able to get a promotional tile on their romance landing page, so first in the series free. And that was for Random Acts of Crazy, which is the first book in my random series, and that I saw a lovely boost in sales. So it's been a mix. It's been a mix of either using BookBub or other paid opportunities to push a free book, and also having Apple promote from within.
So at the conference you were at most recently, you said there were a lot of people there that were interested in going wide. Was there like a common theme among these people, like why they needed or wanted to go wide? Did they feel that KDP Select was becoming ineffective, or were they just afraid that they were going to miss out if they didn't go wide now? I mean, what sorts of things did you get from this?
Yeah, it was an interesting mix of authors who were very savvy and had already sort of done all the tricks and were looking for new information, all the way to people who had not self-published yet but were getting titles back from backlist with traditional publishers. And by and large, it was a desire to not be so dependent on one single vendor, because a number of people commented on algo changes just decimating sales, or the introduction of Kindle Unlimited, which has been fabulous for some people and has been horrible for others. And so it seemed to be a mixed bag. I think what surprised a lot of the people at that workshop were the variety of opportunities. There are a lot of vendors that you can reach through distributors that I think a lot of self-publishers don't realize that they can reach. There was also a lot of talk about problems with certain retailers in terms of uploading and the difficulty or the relative ease of managing a particular vendor's process. I won't mention names, but I think the desire really is strongest, or at least in that crowd of 40 or 50 people, it was strongest to not be reliant on one single vendor for so much. And, you know, one of the things when I talk to friends who are struggling, do I go with Select, do I not? It's easy to stay with or go with Select when 80–90% of your income is coming from one vendor. If Amazon is your, you know, the main number on your spreadsheet, and I mean 80–90% of your income, it can be very daunting to even think about stepping away from that and losing the borrows, losing.
It's hard to leave him when he's giving you so much jewelry.
Right, there you go. And so, you know, so that issue of time, taking the time to let the sales mature to on other vendors, of taking the time to build the audiences, of trying to figure out where do you invest your ad money, where do you invest your promo time, who do you reach out to try to cross promo with. That I think there were a lot of glazed eyes in the audience in the Going Wide workshop after a while, because I think that overwhelm of, oh great, now I have 271 new things to add to the list of guilt that over things I'm not doing to be the perfect indie. And so that was definitely kind of part of it. People are overwhelmed.
Are there specific strategies for Apple that work better there than, say, on Amazon? Things you might have a little more control over that can help you?
Definitely. A couple of things that I think are important, and that have either been passed on to me or that I figured out on my own, or I figured out from talking to other authors. This sounds so obvious, but you got to have your books there, and you've got to have them, if they're in a series, you need to have your series linked properly. So, for instance, when I had an opportunity at one point where one of my books, the first in the series, was free, and to my horror, it was categorized, I was using a distributor at the time, it was categorized in fiction and literature, and then books 2, 3, and 4 were categorized in contemporary romance. So when the freebie got promoted and shot through the roof, nobody saw that there were books 2, 3, right, 2, 3, and 4. So that was a real learning lesson, and I say to everybody out there, please connect your series if you're going to do the promotions. Don't learn from my mistake. Don't do what I did. And that's an easy one to miss. So one of the other things that's important, even as recently as last October, when I met with iBooks at Novelists Incorporated, you couldn't have books, for instance, on Draft to Digital or Smashwords, and then in a series, and then go direct with book 5 or book 6 or book 7 in your own direct iTunes Connect account and have the series connect.
Mm-hmm.
You can now. And so for authors who are worried about, well, I'm going to lose my 300 reviews if I take my book off of Smashwords or Draft to Digital and then go direct, that's no longer the case. Technologically, they can connect them. And so that really helps for people who are struggling with, there are a lot of indies who worry, oh, now I have to pull my catalog off of these distributors and put them direct in order to have series connected, and you no longer have to do that. One of the things that I learned that has been really helpful too with iBooks, they want to see you promoting them in order for them to promote you. So if you have a website and you only have Amazon and Barnes & Noble links on it, then they're going to check you out. If you are looking for promo from them, they want to see promo from you. So having links to your iBooks listings on your website, on promoting them regularly in your newsletters, Facebook posts, Twitter, all of it is important. And in addition to that, getting an affiliate account for yourself is really beneficial. Everybody, well, I'm assuming most people know that Amazon has an affiliate account, and I make a really comfortable amount of money every month off of my Amazon affiliate account. But I had no idea until last October that Apple had an affiliate account that I could get, and so I got one right away, and I'm now on pace to match my Amazon affiliate money in about 6 months at the rate things are going. And so not only listing your iBooks books on your website, but also using the affiliate account is a way to have a win-win situation there. But they're going to look, they're going to see, are you using badges? Are you using iBooks links on your website when they're looking at, okay, well, let's promote this author. She or he is helping to promote us. Some of the other things that I found, and some of this is romance specific because that's the area I write in.
We have romance listeners.
Right. Contemporary romance does very well. I have friends who write paranormal, and they sort of struggle with getting traction on iBooks. That doesn't mean you can't do well at all. You can. But it's definitely an area that romance readers want to just keep romance writers want to keep an eye out for. Categorizing your books properly is really important too. There are new categories being rolled out. I know iBooks recently rolled out an erotic romance category. There were some concerns that might be not discoverable or searchable. It is. Right. If somebody has a problem with that category, like if they suddenly, well, and this is true for any category, if your book suddenly isn't searchable, contact them, and it's probably a glitch. But generally speaking, what I found is making sure that your series are linked and getting that first book free are key. I mean, I have some other suggestions that I think are applicable to all indies. One of them is we all know that it can be difficult to find paid advertising that isn't Amazon specific. Some of the bigger advertisers, BookBub, in romance, My Romance Reads, eReader News Today, which is broader, they do have links to iBooks, but a lot of the smaller venues don't. And I'm always mentioning to them when I'm booking an ad, hey, have you thought about adding iBooks? You know that they have an affiliate account. And I'm not doing that out of the goodness of my heart. I'm doing that because I want more readers on iBooks. And especially with iBooks, because they have that international reach, they reach more English speakers and English readers worldwide that I want to grab. I'm seeing fabulous growth of all the countries. I'm seeing fabulous growth in South Africa through Google. Well, I want to see that growth on more vendors. I want to see that on Kobo. I want to see that on iBooks. I want to see that on Amazon eventually. But if advertisers don't offer iBooks as an option for advertising them, we as indies are not going to see that kind of growth. So it's to our advantage to mention that to them when we're booking ads.
Have you noticed a difference in readers or in conversion from book to book on iBooks versus others? So here's what I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. Sean and Dave put Yesterday's Gone, their big series, on iBooks recently, and made the first one free. And we haven't been featured in any way yet. But what I've noticed is there will be X number of free downloads and a respectable number of buys of the next seasons without any promotion of any sort. And that doesn't seem to happen in those same numbers on Amazon. I just wondered if you've seen anything similar.
So conversion rates.
Or just differences in readers between platforms.
What I do, one big difference, I'm not so sure about the conversion rate. That's a good question. I haven't analyzed that. Now you've got me, another thing to put on my list of 8,000 things that we're supposed to be doing. I have found that iBooks readers tend not to be as price sensitive as Amazon readers. I don't see the wait for a sale. I see people who just grab the entire series. I
love Apple readers for that reason.
Yeah, man, they just go right in. And I had a new book launch on April 29th, and I had, as a percentage of sales, a vastly larger number of pre-orders on Apple. And that was one thing that was really sweet. I also had fewer cancellations of pre-orders on Apple. And so that's a difference, certainly, in reader behavior over there. One nice thing about the way that iBooks handles the pre-orders is that you can set up your pre-order and up to a year before the book is released and just collect the pre-orders over time, which you can do with Amazon, except they have a 90-day period. So does Barnes & Noble. But also with iBooks, you get, if you have to change your pre-order date, there's no dungeon.
They don't destroy your house and murder your family?
That's right.
Or
Wow.
passive-aggressive guilt.
Yeah, we got a passive-aggressive nasty gram from Amazon.
Oh, I have my share of those. But yeah, so the pre-orders there they're definitely more flexible, and I see in terms of reader behavior there versus other venues a higher percentage of pre-orders coming in as a total number of sales in launch week. So that's an interesting side of reader behavior that I see over there.
One thing that we've heard, and we haven't seen it yet, is the idea of the double count of pre-orders. So you can trend while you're getting those pre-orders, and then on launch day, it's as if all those people
bought it that day.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that recalculation that you don't get at Amazon, where with Amazon your rank is calculated based on the sales of the day, but then the pre-orders dump on the day of, well, typically the day before your actual release date, where with Apple they recalculate. Yes, I've seen that to some extent with my pre-orders. I don't see the spike that I would expect based on my pre-order numbers, which is something that so I definitely see that the effect of some kind of recalculation is going on, and I don't know if my experience is unique, but I haven't seen the based on my pre-orders, I haven't seen a launch rank that I would expect. It's not quite as high, but it's definitely higher than if they took the raw number of orders I had the day before, the way that Amazon does.
So maybe it counts as like a percentage of a sale rather than a full sale. Oh, we're just speculating.
Yeah. But
yeah, it's hard to know, but I mean, we haven't been doing pre-orders for long, but I do love the way Apple does them in contrast, because we have books that are way farther out than 90 days, and we're already, for our Invasion series, we have books coming out next year, and we put pre-orders up for them, and that's pretty exciting because some people in that series are going to get it now, and the cumulative effect of that over 6 months to a year, awesome.
Well, it's also great because if you've got book 3 in a series and you have a link to the pre-order for book 4, even if book 4 is not coming out for 6 months, you're grabbing people right away. Oh, they love the book. Oh, here it is, pre-order, click, done.
Right. Well, you're getting them when they're still hot from just finishing something they enjoyed. And
God, does that suck when our next book is out in November, and so we can't have a pre-order on Amazon.
Right. Yeah,
Yes,
and oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, and we've also seen on Amazon we can actually be hurt by pre-orders because of the way the algorithm works, and so we get a diluted launch, and Apple just doesn't do that.
Right. Well, and I've had this conversation with my Amazon rep, and so have other people, and they're aware of the fact that people would like longer than 90 days. And so the more voices that get out there, whether it's through KDP Contact Us or through one-on-one conversation. I am not advocating that. No.
You give me the address off air.
But I actually, when I was setting up pre-orders for an earlier book this year that launched in February, I did research into all of the vendors where I go either direct or indirectly, and Amazon and Barnes & Noble are the two shortest pre-orders. Pre-order periods. Both are 90 days. It ranges from 1 year or more with Apple. Google Play is 1 year or longer. Kobo is six months or a year.
Kobo let me do a year just recently.
Great. Okay, that's great. All romance ebooks will do pre-orders, and they will. I believe theirs is a year too. So it's interesting that it's Amazon and Barnes & Noble that limit you to the 90 days. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they'll fix it. They listen to us all the time.
Right, because I think that and this is actually a really good takeaway. One of the reasons we want to go wide is because we don't want Amazon to have all the power. Because if they do, especially for Kobo, Barnes & Noble, like they don't sell refrigerators, they sell books.
Right.
So they really want books to sell. Books are a loss leader for Amazon, which means it's not as important. And although they do a lot of things for authors, and they have changed our lives and a lot of people who are listening to this, that doesn't mean that authors are their primary concern.
Right.
But the more competition there is, the longer Apple's pre-order is, the better KDP Select is, the harder Apple has to try.
Yeah. Monopoly is never good.
Right. The more competition, the better Kobo's dashboard is, the better Amazon's has to be. I think that competition is really healthy, and as long as us in the community, we're all rah 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 and declaring what we need, I think that that's a really healthy thing.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah. I also think that if we can talk as authors in our forums and in our communities and at our conferences, but if we're also not giving that feedback to the retailers, we're not going to see change. So you don't have to have a rep in order to get your ideas across. You don't have to abuse the contact us system at the retailers either, but certainly when some sort of a glitch or when some sort of an idea, like this issue of pre-orders, and hey, maybe Amazon should extend it past 90 days, and if enough authors contact them and say, we'd like this to be changed, maybe they'll listen. Who knows? Maybe the smaller vendors, if nothing else, when they hear, hey, we're complaining about this thing that Amazon's doing, maybe we should change it so that we have some competitive advantage, that might help. And so that makes it all a healthier marketplace for everyone.
So if you're watching or listening to this show, make sure you reach out to Amazon ASAP.
One of the things that it's not just the length of pre-order, but Apple really seems to prioritize pre-orders. Mm-hmm. And we've been doing way more pre-orders because of what we've been doing on iBooks, to the extent, I don't know, have you had anything featured as an Apple exclusive pre-order? Because that's something we've looked at too. Not
yet, I haven't.
Because the Beam Season 3 is an Apple, I mean, it is exclusive to Apple, it's not featured as one, but that's the sort of thing, we put it there because we want to do stuff with the Beam on iBooks, so something to consider, as it does seem important there.
Okay, and are you seeing an increase? Are you seeing results from that? Are you seeing that you're getting more pre-orders than you would have if it weren't exclusive?
And Johnny's
Okay.
gone dark.
All right. So
I finally ask you guys a question.
It's only, you can hear me now. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the pre-order. That's only a day old, so I can't.
Okay.
But we did do. They did feature one of the Lexi Maxwell titles as an Apple exclusive pre-order, and that definitely helped.
Okay, that's great. And that's an example where iBooks or frankly any other retailer could offer either exclusives or special opportunities for authors that help to compete with Amazon and some of their tools.
Yeah, I think one of the things we were talking about last week was how at the end of a book, Apple will suggest, the next book in the series to you, which is an amazing thing for writers and readers. Yes. Like when you're done with the book on Amazon, unless the author puts something in the back, a call to action that says, "Hey, book 2 is out," you're left in the dark. You got to go and find. But on iBooks, it tells you.
I have to say though, I have a Paperwhite. Mm-hmm. This is not a plug for Amazon and their devices, but I do have to say, because I've been reading, I'm taking a break between books and I'm reading a bunch of friends' books, and the end of my Paperwhite, it does push the next books in their series, off on its own.
Okay, you know what? This may be a new thing then. Okay, because I do realize that they have that series thing that is a little more prominent. I'm reading on a Kindle Fire, so I don't know if the software needs to be updated, but okay, that's cool to know.
It also might be that they have series pages, which I have not been granted a series page yet on Amazon, but these friends may very well have that, and it might be something in their tech system that they're doing. But I agree that the way that Apple helps to push the next book in the series, and again, that speaks to the importance as an indie of making sure that your series field is filled in properly, because that's probably the most effective tool for pushing subsequent books in the series.
The way Apple does series is really sexy too, I think. It may be the coolest other than an Amazon series page. If you're on Invasion, like the little thumbnails of all the other are right there by default, and it's like, oh, I see this is an extended series, and the way our rep said is a lot of people just click, like they'll just go down the line.
Yes, and we love those readers.
Yeah, they're awesome. As long as we're still tickling Apple's special spaces, two things that one thing that hasn't been talked about at all, and one thing that we just kind of glanced over earlier, Julia was saying, make sure that you have your link to Apple on your website. I think that's really, really important because it is so tempting to just focus on Amazon. Amazon is where all the business is, and you don't want to give people too many links to consider. And I understand all the reasons for not doing it, but it is kind of disrespectful. If Apple is taking the time to go look you up and they don't see any attention that you're giving them, then why should they give attention to you? So that is something not just on your site, but tweet them, do little things to get their attention, and I think that you're just so much more likely to get their attention back. But beyond
Stalk
that,
them.
Beyond that, on just kind of an overarching belief in Apple, you got to think. iPhone is the most popular smartphone in the world. iPad is the most popular tablet, and iBooks is built into all of those devices. They're in countries all around the world, and they're growing. And just because
you can read on your iMac now too.
Yes, and just because you have not seen as an indie growth on Apple yet doesn't mean that's not the next biggest place to grow. And I believe in Apple. I think that they're a great company who does great things, and a lot of what they do, as evidenced by the fact that they're not even on the show, right? Like
they're too good for us.
They sit in their laboratory and they make awesome things, and I believe that they will have a bigger impact in the future to the indie community than they do now. And I think that if you're smart and you're buying stock in an idea, that's a good place to buy stock.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny, are you there?
I didn't say anything. Why are you yelling at me now?
Okay. Well, because we hit the hour mark and
All right. Well,
we
so
are
why
on a
don't
tight schedule.
Yeah, so why don't we be done? And don't bother telling me I'm glitching out during the outro because it'll be okay on the audio, so only YouTube may get hurt. Julia, please stick around. We'll just through the outro here, and I'll just say goodbye to everybody on the show. So thanks for listening to the Self-Publishing Podcast.
Where do we find Julia at? Website?
Where do we find Julia at, other than her books? Do you have an author website you'd like to mention?
Yes, absolutely. It's jkentauthor.com.
jkentauthor.com. Look her up on iBooks, but also on the other platforms. She's got a lot of billionaire books that I watched lapping Lexi when we're doing a promo. So thanks for being on the Self-Publishing Podcast. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Sorry for the tech difficulties, everybody. We hopefully will be better next week. And,
Thank you.
And I guess that's it. So we'll see y'all next week, and thanks for listening.